In countries where there has been access to vaccination and there's been a lot of exposure already, we're in a different world right now. With the Omicron variants, the COVID virus is not deadlier on a person-by-person basis than influenza. And although we underreact to influenza every year, the fact is that if you're vaccinated and if you're vulnerable and get sick, you get Paxlovid, you're probably going to do pretty well with two big unknowns. The first is long COVID. Lots of people suffering with long COVID. We don't understand it well. We don't know how to treat it. We don't know what the future will hold for it. So something to be taken seriously. And second, we don't know what the future will hold for COVID. Bottom line, Ian, we can't predict what will happen next with COVID, but we can predict with absolute certainty that either a new variant of COVID or another virus is going to create another massive threat to world health in the future that we can be much better prepared for.
What does it look like for you going forward? What kind of recommendations do you think are likely about the future of how frequently and what kind of vaccines people will be taking?
The bottom line is that people should get the vaccines that are available now when they're eligible and recommended to have them. We don't know what the future will hold. It may be that there's an annual vaccination. It may be that the combination of vaccination and prior infection protects you for a few years. It may be that we have what's called a multivalent vaccine against several different strains, or even a combination of COVID and influenza vaccines. But that's all speculative about the future. What we know now is that staying up to date with your vaccination is the single most effective thing that you can do to keep yourself out of the hospital and, quite frankly, out of the morgue.
Now, we know that we're seeing continually millions upon millions upon millions of cases all the time. We know how transmissible this disease is. In your view, does that make it much more likely that we are going to see even more transmissible variants? Does it also make it more plausible that we could see variants that could be much more deadly than Omicron?
I have to say, Ian, I've been stunned by how infectious this virus was and has become. It started out like really infectious compared to other viruses, and then it became even more infectious, and then it became even more infectious still. It's impressive. If we look at the single most infectious virus known, it's probably measles. And measles is pretty stunning. Measles will infect essentially everyone in an immune-naive population. And yet, measles has a doubling time in the population of about 8 to 10 days. Omicron, 2 days. So you're seeing just stunningly infectious virus. If you look at December and January, more than 1 million Americans were getting infected every single day. Now, there's nothing to say that a future highly infectious variant won't be deadlier than Delta, which was quite deadly. That's why we have to be prepared. Anyone who predicts with certainty and confidence what's going to happen more than about 3 or 4 weeks out with COVID, frankly, Ian, they don't know what they're talking about.
So it's completely plausible that we could, in your mind, that in the next 6, 12 months, really at any time going forward, that we could have a new variant that spreads like wildfire, but is actually much, much more lethal.
Not only is that possible, but it's also possible that that variant would be what's called immune escape. That means that it really doesn't respond very well to our vaccines. Currently, our vaccines, although they don't protect against infection beyond a few months very well, do a great job protecting against severe disease, hospitalization, and death. But it's possible that won't always be the case. Whether or not that happens with a future variant of COVID, we are definitely at risk of that happening with an influenza variant or some other viral disease.